Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. You saw several of my colleagues across several European cities, but we start today's show looking at France. The Prime Minister Francois Bayrou lost a confidence vote in Parliament, bringing an end to his government after just 9 months. Politicians from across the French political spectrum united to defeat Bayrou with 364 votes against him and only 194 in favor. He is now expected to submit his official resignation to President Macron later today, while the Élysée Palace said it will appoint a new prime minister in the coming days. This throws Bayrou's proposed €44 billion deficit-cutting budget into question. Speaking in Parliament, the outgoing prime minister urged lawmakers not to ignore pressing challenges like the country's fiscal position. Listen in.
Le problème, la menace.
The problem, the threat and the risk for France will remain intact. Because, ladies and gentlemen of the Assembly, you have the power to overturn the government, but you do not have the power to erase reality. This reality will remain regardless. Spending will continue to increase even more, and the enormity of the debt, which is already unbearable, will get heavier and heavier and more expensive.
President Macron is now under pressure to appoint a new head of government. Several names have been touted as Bayrou's potential successor, including the current defense, justice and economy ministers. Some French commentators have suggested that Macron could be looking to court the left as well and appoint a prime minister from the Socialist Party ranks. The current leader, Olivier Faure, said on Sunday he would accept the job if offered. Other possible names that have been mentioned include the former Prime Minister Bernard de Cazeneuve and the current head of the Cour des Comptes, Pierre Moscovici. Charlotte is still in Paris for us. Charlotte, we have seen the president going to the right with Michel Barnier, then appointing someone from the center with Bayrou. Is it now the case that he's more likely to look at the left?
It's looking unlikely from what we hear. Certainly has, for now, the Prime Minister were coming out of the governing majority, so the parties that kind of formed the coalition around President Macron, so the centre and the centre-right there. But it looks like the short list of potential new Prime Ministers are from the same bloc. So it's kind of surprising because you'd think probably he should go to the left now, try the final option there that he could pick. And certainly the Socialists have been very much placing themselves out there, saying they are ready to enter government. But look, this result was not surprising to a certain extent, but the loss was heavier than expected. It's 364 MPs voting against Bayrou. So that was worse than what Barnier did. He had more members of parliament voting against him than his predecessor Barnier, that was also ousted back in December. And of course, all the conversation was around the potential 26 budget, the proposals that Bayrou had made back in July, this €44 billion in spending cuts and tax hikes. And this was not going down well with any of the opposition parties, and therefore voting him down. So what next? The Élysée yesterday saying they will pick the new PM very soon. It could be in the next few days. And apparently, in previous prime ministers, he took his time. President Macron, it took 2 months to name Barnier. Of course, the Olympics were happening in the meantime. It took 8 days to pick Bayrou. Apparently, he could be much faster than this. And why? Well, tomorrow you have big protests expected in the country. It's called Bloquons tout. Let's block everything. That doesn't have a political bloc per se or a union that started the movement, but certainly it seems to be a movement that's gathering pace and trying to show some discontent with the government. On Friday, there is a Fitch ratings review for France, and of course here again the question of the political instability impacting potentially that rating there. So all this is coming very, very soon for the government. So President Macron was said to want to act very quickly. You mentioned just a bit earlier some of the potential names that have been circulating. Sébastien Lecornu, the defense minister close to Emmanuel Macron, that was also rumored to be prime minister last time. Éric Lombard, the current economy minister, who's said to be close to the left, also being rumored. Also left field names, Villeroy de Galhau, the governor of the Banque de France, that is rumored again as potentially more of a technocratic kind of figure. So we have to wait and see what the Élysée picks, but certainly the environment is a bit unknown because the National Assembly remains fragmented in 3 blocks. No one has a majority, and whoever is picked, they will have to work with this fragmented parliament to put together a budget. And here again, deadline is very short. It has to be presented to a cabinet meeting by October 7th to then be being debated in Parliament in middle of October. So the timeline is very, very short. From what we heard from the opposition, particularly from Marine Le Pen, who is leading the biggest party in the National Assembly, she's calling for a dissolution of Parliament altogether to clarify the political situation.
As far as we're concerned, as we have always done, we will take our responsibilities seriously. If there's no dissolution of Parliament, we will continue with a constructive spirit, but without weakness, and to assert the ideas that our voters demand we defend. But I say this solemnly. Do not wait for the reassemblant National to follow you in your fiscal and migratory madness, in your petty ideological biases that prevent you from seeing the reality of the country. If there is a dissolution of Parliament, we will accept the verdict of the ballot box. If the people do us the honour of a clear mandate, an absolute majority, we will go to the office of the Prime Minister without waiting for a presidential election to implement a programme of national recovery. Change cannot wait anymore.
So an interesting element is that if there is a dissolution eventually, which is not the case for now the president just picking a new prime minister, but if that prime minister keeps on failing or forming a government or keeps being toppled, some say there could be a dissolution further down the line. What's interesting is that Marine Le Pen would not be allowed to run in this new election potentially, because remember this EU fund embezzlement case. She's not allowed to run for any election for now. So that will be appealed next year, of course, in the run-up to the presidential election. That's just in 18 months, and that's the interesting thing, is that we could see this instability continue for a while until that all-important presidential election, because this parliament continues to stay very fragmented.